Second. Get back to Facebook. Here we go. We are going live.
Hello, everybody. Are we live?
Yep, you're
Okay.
on.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's reading. As usual, I'll read 2 poems to start, and then we'll get into the reading. Tonight's readers are Ruth Happel, Ruth Happel, Jessica Rigney, Peggy Zambory, and Loren Niemi. I will start with a couple poems I wrote. The first one is called Bear and Bee. There is a buzzing that weaves around a life, and wounds lie bare as you wander past strife. You can sit gazing at the demands of pocketbook, or raise eyes towards clouds, as if to get a better look, as if to find a better way to be. Next poem I'm reading is also called Bear and Bee, but it's nouns. The connection is not lost when I think of you. The bear and bee frolicking in the last frost of March, the buzzing and the swiping in the air, the actions of a grizzly bee and a honey bear. And then on to our readers. We start with Ruth Happel. Ruth is a freelance writer and law student from East Tennessee in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. Her poems have previously been published by America Magazine, Cura Magazine, and other small presses. She is currently an editor for the Yale Environment Review. Take it away, Ruth.
Thanks so much, Ron. So I originally met Ron and some of the other poets through Tupelo's 30 days of poetry program. So I was going to read a couple of my poems for that program tonight. The first poem I want to read is titled August Rhapsody. I thought it was timely since this is our August poetry reading. Long after midnight, trees bend their leaf-laced veils, listen to the silent street. In still summer night, they stumble on spindle roots, tiptoeing together, dancing on the hillside in gold moon glow, far above the silent town below. By dawn, they rustle into familiar sidewalks, shed their night airs, their arms still clasped above staccato sprinklers and secret pirouette. So I read a lot of nature poetry, and we live near a stream. So my next poem is called Painted Turtle, and just kind of following the theme of nature poetry. In midsummer, the river glows green, if only for an instant. Algae swirls like brushstrokes. Joe Pye weed and clover and crepe myrtle, dripping like ink, drifting petals sink. In silent symphony, dive down deep, red shell like the roses that grow in mud and silt and dark, without anyone to see them, like a painting, if only for an instant, only ever this way once. So my next poem is also about nature locally in East Tennessee. It's called Ruby Throat, after ruby-throated hummingbirds. I think in our last poetry reading I read for, I talked a little bit about the hummingbird migration, which is again another kind of beautiful late summer seasonality. If you start seeing more hummingbirds, they are migratory species. They're not as dramatic as geese, but I just love looking at these kind of little wonders in everyday life. So Ruby Throat. Strange shivering traveler, flutter like heartbeats, small dragon of honeysuckle and vine, cut through time like a sea serpent slicing some far and icy ocean. More than time, more than this moment, this summer, purr of past and present, shimmering into one, jewel neither now nor then, but in between. And my next poem is sort of related and sort of not. It's called Hummingbird Moth. So if you haven't seen hummingbird moth, they actually do kind of look like hummingbirds, but they're a moth, which is, I love hummingbird moths, so I'm biased, but I think they're really fascinating. If you've ever seen a clearwing or a hummingbird hawk moth, they're such unique, beautiful animals. Pale shudder of summer, forest sprite on soap bubble wings. When the light dances against the moss in forests of foxglove, strange silhouette, a shrimp swimming through summer clouds, rare beast of some lost garden, some other world, intersecting only in the hum of one lonely sun-drenched afternoon. So my next poem is kind of a swerve. This is again a 30 for 30 poem, but it's kind of more about distant wildlife. One of my biology professors in undergrad specialized in snow leopard biology at the Bronx Zoo. And she's actually one of the world's leading snow leopard biologists. And I've never seen one in the wild because very few people alive have, but I've always been fascinated by snow leopards. I think they're so mysterious and enchanting. Snow leopard. She slips like drops of ink down the diamond slope of sky, tail curled a question mark, speckled with commas, already her own answer, where the mountain roars in icy breath, leaping shadow over ice, silent as all things are beyond the rim of sky. And my next poem I want to read is actually a poem that I originally wrote for American Magazine. It's a little more like conceptual. Conceptual isn't really the right word. I wrote this poem sitting on a bench in the New York Botanical Garden near the end of college, and a number of people have asked me what it means, and I honestly don't know. I just kind of sat on a bench and wrote it, looking at the wildflowers. So you could ascribe a larger meaning to it, or you could just say this is kind of what I wrote on one summer day several years ago. So the title is Agape, after kind of the Greek word meaning like love for all or love for all humanity. I see God in everything, the way sunlight shivers across the grass, the way the sky trembles beneath the weight of the wind. My God is patient. She curls like ivy around a crumbling world and howls in the stillness of the night, the silent spaces no ritual can fill. She is simply Agape, Augustine's absence of evil, the Ouroboros at the end of history. She is the idea of herself, slumbering in the metacosmia, the moss between the burning steel skeletons of world-torn worlds. And when at last life shudders into stillness, she will spill outwards into Eden, sending stalks through dull ash, singing the start of Hesiod's golden age in a field of lavender beneath a gaping gray sky, full of prophet birds, as the playwright says. She will spin the silent bones of lost saints back to life and bless every unclean thing until the whisper of her breath lives on in the land itself. As the Quran says, the fluttering of birds' wings is their prayers. She is the instant outside yourself, as though you could fly forever in an instant of perfect forgetfulness. God is the Gatsby glimmer that, somehow, the world can be made new. There is something beyond an endless present, something Elysian, beyond being trapped in an endless state of becoming. So I kind of want to hand off now because I'm so excited to hear from the other poets, but thank you again for the invitation, Ron. I always really enjoy these nights.
Thank you, Robin. Beautiful as usual. Next up, we have Ruth Happel. And there she is. Yeah, there she is. Ruth has enjoyed writing poetry since the age of 6. Once she realized it's hard to make a living as a poet, she chose to study monkeys. After many years chasing an assortment of monkeys and apes through jungles, it was clear primatology is equally impractical and much muddier. She now enjoys writing poetry daily and has replaced simians with shelties, an equally challenging animal to pursue. For over 20 years, her major form of poetry is haiku, enjoying its elegant simplicity. Take it away, Ruth.
I wrote my first haiku at school when I was 10, but only wrote a few more until 30 years later. A book on haiku poetry resonated with me, and I found a parallel with my nature photography, capturing moments that are both ordinary and remarkable at the same time. I enjoy exploring a hybrid of writing and pictures, and will share my screen reading poems to match my haiku photography. The Haiku Foundation suggests it is best to read each poem twice, so I'll follow this advice and pause briefly between 2 readings of each haiku. We're having some trouble sharing the screen for the photos. Just give us 1 minute, sorry.
The settings should be okay for you to share, so keep trying.
Okay, sorry, it doesn't seem to be working. Maybe could someone else read, because we have to quit and reopen apparently.
Sure, we'll move on to Jessica. Jessica Rigney is a poet, artist, and filmmaker. Her poems have appeared in Apple Press, Cedar Press Review, Night Hearing Barks, South Broadway Press, among others, as well as a handful of anthologies. She is the author of Follow a Field, a photographic and poetic essay, Entre Nous, Careful Packages, and Something Whole. Jessica was a quarterfinalist for the Pablo Neruda Prize for Poetry in 2016 and 2018. She lives and wanders in Colorado and northern New Mexico, where she films and collects feathers and stones. Website www.jessicarigney.com. Take it away, Jessica.
Hi, thank you, Ron. First, I wanted to say hello to everybody who might be tuning in who I haven't seen in a very long time. It's been quite a while since I've read, and I haven't read live except once in just the last month. So I would like to start with two poems from Dwell. This is the most recent anthology that I've been a part of. Let me see if I can hold that straight. I think that's as good as I can get it. Hang on, there we go. This is published by South Broadway Press here in Colorado, and I personally know Bryce Mayoro and Sarah Rodriguez, who are editors on the press, and this anthology benefits the Village Institute here in Chicago for immigrant women and their families, and all the poems inside are all about home. So here's the two that I have in it, and it's still available now. If you want to look for it, it's at South Broadway Press. Lean home. After the locusts devour our crops and the geese lay down to rest on the remains, there you sit with crushed wheat beneath. Your white shirt trembles against a turquoise sky. Dewlight rises from the field. Grackles call from the osage, flocked full, a shift of darkness by 1,000 wings. You say cormorant, cormorant in formulaic repetition, though we reside on a prairie far from any sea. I sit down beside you, ink blue. We've forfeited the baby this time, through no fault of our own, I say. I'll bury what passes in the kitchen garden with what's left of the creeping time. Then we are quiet in the slow rustle of a lowing wind, and we lean into one another as home, as we will again. We are lost, save for what is slow to be known of calm and hope and the tides of crops and wings. Second from this anthology is entitled Floor Bare. And here you are standing, 2 feet bare on the floor of your kitchen, turning back to the wall behind as though he were standing barefooted there with you again as he did those years prior, before the days dissolved into the rising of time immemorial, and you, who had just kept your head above water, now live in the after. So far below, you have come to know the nocturnal creatures who in quiet habits roam from shore to shore, only under all the weight of dark stars. What can you do but let flow through your fingers the now, and him too, though he was yours for a time and gave you such happiness? The distances between keep widening, and soon it will be that you cannot recall his eyes or the scent amongst his thick curls. Turns out you knew, had known all along this was coming. It was why you held him close for so long, why you saved him in dreams so many times you lost count. It was the one sure thing you held in your heart, And though you knew it to be true, you gave him everything even so, even though you knew in the coming years he would be gone from you. And here you are standing 2 feet bare on the floor of your kitchen, turning back to the wall behind you as though he were standing barefooted there. So those are from Dwell. Thank you. I would recommend, I wish I could hold that straight. There we go. I would recommend getting a copy. There's so many wonderful poets in that anthology, and I haven't promoted it enough. So the next poems I'd like to read are from my book published last year called Something Whole. And this is published by Finishing Line Press, but I think it's available on Amazon and all those places too. The entire book is about desire. So we'll move on to something less depressing now. And I wanted to say some of these poems are very short and rhyming. They came from a lot of reading of Emily Dickinson, as I'm sure we've all done. And I also, at one point several years ago, hammered them into the steel doors of steel boxes myself and exhibited them. And there is a video of what those look like on my YouTube page. I don't have a lot up there, but if you look for my name on YouTube, you can find the story about how those boxes were made. It was really fun to do it. You have held up your hands against need until your edges strayed. And in the losing, your bordered being is soon seized by its unraveling. Sons of no artifice. Press your back, he says, your breath into a meadow. How a meadow can be worship, or this is how it will go, she says. How you'll take your time and not know. Less has been made of the freshly wrought. Under, he says, a simmering sun. How I'll hold, he tells her, is how you'll become. The flesh of your thumb in my mouth. Clasp at the roots of bow sway and happenstance. You, she says, are not asking anything of follow, or I know, or now though you mark me, not by tongue erotic and slid inside a shell, not with your hand middling thighs a division of, but by a meadow in bloom under my skin. Your quiet, fine tongue of a day neatly lined with ease and pause, and how it will go, he says, is more thumbs on thongs neath sons of no artifice. Thank you. Where the elbow bends, there are 3 words for the taking. One of pressure and of pause before the breaking. Another of backwards glances as the body continues forwards. The third has something to do with crashing or exploding, or the wettish lusts of hungry creatures. Concerts of inflict. In my chest run flights of elk, that they pound roughly is not enough for me. I've made this heart recluse in a brimmed history. The years fan out behind every August, a deluge of careless treatment. You I have forsaken again and again, and I know not why my feet upon a long road saves me from the thundering ransom of my soul. I dig through owl pellets, hunting for small bones with which to pick at my teeth. Gray stones flecked with mica find their way into my hands, then clunk about in the sack hung over my dark shoulder, turning away again, and I cannot say why I wish to handle precious things belonging to others, why I caress the crevice of a nicotine door jamb and whisper questions of assorted nature of succumb and wend. The length of each fingernail determines which grip to use when carrying my broken bucket. Index pressed hard into thumb flesh, a cactus needle still sunk in the hinge of a toe. How they shimmer in concerts of inflict. Oh, that vein of exquisite unease. How it threads silken through a round hour. And I know you have grown weary of my rootless craves, but between my legs a future mounts its apex for the ripe way in which tongues loose, wry words meant to frighten the sovereign hold. In my nostrils, a wet heat smokes fresh cigars hand-rolled for the occasion, and all the beating wings of wild birds are peeling away fast from my wall. Thank you. How am I doing on time? Okay, so one short one and one last one. Once you return from ecstasies, time refashions sweet your little sufferings. You'll walk through this world as a drowned thing dripping twigs and leaves, breathing blameless breaths like these. And my last poem is Amongst Seeds Diminishing. And I'll say, if he's tuning in, this is for my friend David, who always loved this poem. How for once I'd made a fool of myself, you began to show me what I had been looking for, though I did not know I had been hunting. How for once the white hyacinths made their push up and through my boots to split the sky between a winter's night and spring's greedy, wet lunge. It was, I believe now, the last of cracked dishes, the last of yellow yolks running beyond my hope. For me, it was how you said your ears are like a shell, and how I wanted to penetrate them in the backflow of soft sounds you make when you are leaning into the wide bodies of goats who know it's best to shift a balance between hooves. How for once I'd made a circle round your tender wrists with my tongue. I could see it was not the same for you as it was for me. And I'd again make a fool of myself for my sorrow left and still diminishing amongst the seeds of cottonwood tendrils. For once we know there is not an entire me inside an entire you. It is easier, still easier, to let what's wanted go. Thank you. That's the book. I'm supposed to promote it, so there you go.
That's good. By the way, I requested for the Hennepin County Library here in Minnesota, and they're going to order it. So,
Oh, really? Oh, thank you
so a
so
bunch of
much.
Minnesotans will be able to.
Oh,
read it.
yay. Thank you so much, Ron.
Not a problem. Very beautiful poems.
Thank you.
And now we'll see how Ruth is doing. Ruth, are you ready?
I think I am. I'm going to try.
Okay, here we go with Ruth.
Rays of light break night. Orange sifts to passing clouds. Mountains reach for dawn. Can you see that? Are you seeing me in the video or are you seeing my picture?
We are seeing both.
Are you seeing both? Yeah, I don't think this is working still. Can you see it? Rays of light break night. Orange sifts to passing clouds, mountains reach for dawn. Okay, can you see a bird?
Yeah,
Yep.
Balance. Okay. Balanced near right bud, bluebird dressed in scraps of blue, torn from sky above. Balanced near right bud, bluebird dressed in scraps of blue, torn from sky above. Breaking through branches, sun descends toward deep blue lake, sky's long path to night. Breaking through branches, sun descends toward deep blue lake, sky's long path to night. Perched with perfect poise, resting on a rocky throne, a prince among frogs. Perched with perfect poise, resting on a rocky throne, a prince among frogs. Dormant volcano, mountain molded by fire, erupts with sunset. Dormant volcano, mountain molded by fire, erupts with sunset. Deep in green forest, feathered tree and leafy bird blend in dappled light. Deep in green forest, feathered tree and leafy bird blend in dappled light. Pale blush of cherries frames a twilight sky beyond, waxing gibbous moon. Pale blush of cherries frames a twilight sky beyond, waxing gibbous moon. Hummingbird glitters, sparkling colors all distilled into tiny jewels. Hummingbird glitters, sparkling colors all distilled into tiny jewels. Keyhole carved from stone, hints of world where blues collide, sea fades into sky. Keyhole carved from stone, hints of world where blues collide, sea fades into sky. Restless jungle sleep, monkey dangles half awake, alert for danger. Restless jungle sleep, monkey dangles half awake, alert for danger. Trees grasp at blue sky, draped in bright light and dark shade, a circle of lines. Trees grasp at blue sky, draped in bright light and dark shade, a circle of lines. As days grow shorter, summer flowers slowly fade. Bee lingers longer. As days grow shorter, summer flowers slowly fade. Bee lingers longer. Sharp shapes slicing sky. Parakeets cut through sunset. Broken shards of night. Sharp shapes slicing sky. Parakeets cut through sunset. Broken shards of night. March starts in winter. Slowly, as earth tilts towards sun, snow turns to flowers. March starts in winter. Slowly, as earth tilts towards sun, snow turns to flowers. Wings slice like whispers through ancient mountain forests, rising with warm sun. Wings slice like whispers through ancient mountain forests, rising with warm sun. Among woodland trees, sun dances on gentle waves, sky floats on water. Among woodland trees, sun dances on gentle waves, sky floats on water. Fireflies at dusk, dotted lines connecting trees, Morse code drawn with light. Fireflies at dusk, dotted lines connecting trees, Morse code drawn with light. Waking with dark night, full moon unfurls pale blossoms, closing up at dawn. Waking with dark night, full moon unfurls pale blossoms, closing up at dawn. Dawn floods deep valley, mountains rise on sinking clouds, ships in sea of sky. Dawn floods deep valley, mountains rise on sinking clouds, ships in sea of sky. As clouds tinge with pink, field gathers pieces of sun in boundless blossoms. As clouds tinge with pink, field gathers pieces of sun in boundless blossoms. Gulls bridge sea and sky, arc of wings to fly between blue infinities. Gulls bridge sea and sky, arc of wings to fly between blue infinities. Autumn and summer, two seasons weave one moment, staying and leaving. Autumn and summer, two seasons weave one moment, staying and leaving. Incandescent sky, bright colors bloom through treetops long after sun sets. Incandescent sky, bright colors bloom through treetops long after sun sets. Fierce sun burns straight down, palm trees brush bright billowed clouds, shadows float below. Fierce sun burns straight down, palm trees brush bright billowed clouds, shadows float below. Swan glides on pink lake. Waves carry sunset to shore. Colors wash away. Swan glides on pink lake. Waves carry sunset to shore. Colors wash away. As nights grow colder, red seeping through maple leaves, green veil drops away. As night grows colder, red seeping through maple leaves, green veil drops away. Burning sunset hues, swept to shore by languid sea, brief eternity. Burning sunset hues, swept to shore by languid sea, brief eternity. Just before sunrise, colors spill across pale sky. Palm fronds dance at dawn. Just before sunrise, colors spill across pale sky. palm fronds dance at dawn. Okay, so I hope everybody can see the pictures. I can't see them from here.
We can. They're very beautiful. Well done. Was that the last poem? Okay. Thank you, Ruth. You ever thought of taking the pictures and the poems and posting them on Facebook that way? Might be an idea.
Yeah, I used to post to Facebook. I used to do a haiku of the day with this. So
Oh, cool.
I'm trying to get
Cool.
back into that. So.
Okay. Well, our next reader is not a poet. She's a writer of prose. I think you will enjoy her work. Peggy Pearl Zambory was the recipient of a mentorship through Intermediate Arts and has read and spoken to creative writing classes at Metro State University, where her first chapbook, I Was Raised to Be Alert, was used as a textbook. She worked in 2019 with Frank Burrs on his latest compilation, Under Purple Skies, and read from it alongside fellow contributor Kevin Kline. Her blog, Pearl, Why You Little, holds several hundred stories where she reports on commuting via the city bus, corporate cubitism, the abuse heaped upon her by her cats, and infrequently the state of her laundry. Take it away, Peggy.
Thanks, Ron. This is very cool, and I'm happy to have been invited. So now for something completely different. I've got 3 different short stories, not even that, for tonight. This is the first one. It's called Nature's Bounty, or What's with the Discarded Hair Ties Everywhere. The streets are full of promise for those clever enough to watch for it. Take, for example, hair ties. Why, if a gal plays her cards right, she may never buy an elastic hair tie again. And as someone who regularly pulls her hair into a my hair turns to baling twine in this humidity braid, I gotta say, let's say again. I mean, look around, bus stops, intersections, sidewalks. Who are these people? Is that them over there, the ones with the flowing locks? Is it those folks over there, the ones with their hair in their faces? Why do these people hate their hair ties? Or perhaps the hair ties are migrating. Maybe they're tired of that mop you call a head of hair and have just quit. Maybe thinking of going into a bit of light cinching. Perhaps after a life of living in the cough drop, Kleenex, hand sanitizer confines of a purse, they finally absconded of their own accord. Most of the time, I'm alone when the ground ties make themselves known to me. And I always feel that the experience would be so much more enhanced, if you can believe that, if there was someone with me. Look at that, I'd say, another free hair tie. And then that person would shake their head sadly. Oh, Pearl, they'd say. And then I'd just tap the sides of my nose and wink, because I'm the one with the free hair ties. This is called Seems Like About 20%, or Yeah, but How Was the Service? The morning sky is a powdery blue, the clouds edged with a salmon color that really sets off the red in my eyes. I don't sleep well, a fact that I feel the need to repeat every now and then. Hello, how are you? Me, I didn't sleep well last night. But I do what I do, as I must, every morning. Not only does my lock demand this of me, but Dolly G. Squeakers, formerly of the Humane Society Squeakers, relies on our routines. The alarm clock, the slap, slap, slap of the snooze button, teeth, hair, lunch, dress, treats for the kitty, and out the door. Monday through Friday between the hours of 5:32 and 6:34. I cross a busy intersection, imagining that I look crisp and businesslike, stepping smartly from road to curb. I feel urbane and glamorous, no small feat at this time of morning. Summer is returned and all things are possible. The weather has ceased its 6-month-long killing spree. The birds have returned and have much to say about it. The sidewalk is free of ice and full of underwear. I look down, step over a pair of pink lace and leopard skin patterned underwear. They are neither old nor new. I decide, for my own sake, to think of them as clean. They are on the sidewalk, on the walkway directly in front of the restaurant nearest the bus stop. I stop, back up. Whose are they? Does she know they're gone? Were they hurled from an open car window? Were they left here in front of the restaurant in exchange for services rendered? I move on, reach the bus stop, whereupon I board the stopped bus, waving my scannable bus card in front of the scannable bus card reader. I sit, as I always do, near the rear of the bus and stare out the leaf trees. Have I been tipping incorrectly all these years? This one's called, Yet When He Closes His Eyes, He Dreams. He is a large man, not just for the bus, but for everywhere. The back of his head, the set of his shoulders speak of Vikings and lumberjacks. Even the curl of his pink freckle-specked ears, large as soup bowls, seem to have come from another setting, a time when a man this size rode into town on a tornado, commandeered the women folk, and held fate wave a thick, meaty hand. He's in the seat ahead of me. While a bit overweight, he could not accurately be described as fat. He is a barrel-chested man, a man with a neck like a thigh and shoulders built for the weight of the world. He is a big man in a small world. A woman sits next to him, small, the winter's daily carb intake memo, no doubt lost in the mail. She fits nicely in the seat next to him. The color crawls up his neck in a painfully slow display that something is amiss. He fidgets, squishes his enormous shoulders against the window. He twitches once, twice, pauses for a moment, and then begins again. It is excruciating to watch. He cannot hold still. His seatmate glances at him, glances at the space between them. Is she in his space? Are they touching? No. But he cannot stop himself, and over again, he presses away, squirmily making something from nothing. I close my eyes, and my mother's voice hisses in my ear. Stop that right now, she says. Suddenly, the man in front of me, 300 pounds if he's an ounce, is wearing a frilly dress and a pair of Mary Janes. His feet swing from the edge of the pew as my mother both scowls and offers half a stick of juicy fruit. You sit still now. I reach into my purse. I don't have any gum. I cannot help this man. The squirming becomes unbearable. Even from behind him, the urge to lean over and smack him on the back of the head, cut that out, is overwhelming. And eventually, the tiny woman sitting next to him stands up and moves away to sit next to someone else. I watch the back of his neck as the color fades. And Eric the Red goes back to staring out the window at a world too small for him. And honestly, that's all I've got.
Thank you, Peggy. That was lots of fun.
Thank you.
Our next reader is Loren Niemi. She's an innovative storyteller and author whose works includes the 2020 Midwest Book Award winning ghost story collection, What Haunts Us, and 2 poetry chapbooks, Coyote Flies Coach and Vote Coyote. And his new poetry memoir, A Brevity for the Lost, is now out. More information at www.lorenniemistories.com. Take it away, Loren.
Thank you very much. Here, there it is, the book. And I'm going to read 4 poems from it. It's a poetic memoir in that the first poem in it is one I wrote in 1965. And they proceed more or less chronologically through the 7 years I was in the religious life and my getting tossed out of the religious life. The joke is, I was a member of a religious order, poverty, chastity, and obedience. It was the one I was good at, poverty, that got me tossed out. And then from there, it goes into sort of reflections on what that experience meant. So here's the first one. Poem for the Epiphany. In dreams, the answers came to follow stars, to not trust authority, to leave for Egypt before the slaughter of innocents. It was never about the gold, frankincense, or myrrh, but always about the journey, always about being directed by dreams, a pressing answer to an unasked question. I was, as they were, open to warnings, dreams, though in my case, it was to stay, believing that change was coming inside these cold chapels. Number 2. So after I graduated from college, I taught in a Catholic high school for 1 year. It was pretty much, the students had a good time. They enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. But the parents were freaked out. I was too much of a hippie, even though I was a religious, for their liking. And so at the end of the year, I had an offer to begin to work with juvenile justice offenders, and I took it. And so I went to Winona, Minnesota to work with juvenile justice offenders. And I was living with a number of other brothers who were also a part of that project. And I did not select where we lived. Actually, I will read, this is a 2-part poem, so I'll get to that second part in a moment. End of the road. We lived at the end of the road, where the bus and the milk truck turned around rather than plunge down the gravel path to that short way, which was the valley. We lived in a home at the end of days. The insulation, if there was any, long gone, and a single wood heating stove in the kitchen, unable to keep more than one room warm. We lived in the kitchen in the summer, fly strip hanging from a single electric light, the table for eating, for writing, for reading, for making the model of the universe Gregory worked on all winter. We lived with the end of money, the end of work, and for myself, the end of expectations about tomorrow. And yet, the day after I was thrown out, I thought I was finally right where I needed to be. And there's a footnote to that poem, which is this. Gregory had found the place. He ignored the state of the house, but stood on a stump surveying the night sky. Farmer Johnsgard lived across the road. He went to bed early, turned off the yard lights. Gregory had the great dome of heaven to himself. And by time he arrived, Gregory had set up a 6-inch telescope and begun to photographing every sunrise and sunset crossing the horizon. Everything else was beside the point. Everything else was something Gregory could put up with, to be there standing beneath the stars. This is number 3. This one is actually fairly recent, probably written 3 or 4 years ago. At LaGuardia. Waiting for a flight, I had a Caesar salad and a dry martini and wept as I actually tasted it. Or maybe it was my allergies, or the fact that I am going to die before I'm ready. Before every last I love you, or holding close that no matter where we are, we all face this end. I am counting the days saying, there it is, like the grunt in Tim O'Brien's The Things They Carried, telling the newly arrived, you can't change what won't be changed. And death is one of those things. Yours, mine, ours. The only question worth asking is not where or when, but what did I do to bring the world that made this life worth the living? Angie, the waitress, brought me a second vodka off the books, asked me if there was anything else she could do to make my stay better, And I replied, "Do you like working in Terminal C?" She smiled and said her father thinks she's nuts serving strangers all day. But if food makes us happy, why shouldn't she bring that joy? And on hearing that, I added another $5 to her tip. This is what life has become for me, giving away that which has no value when the curtain falls. And finally, another double-sided poem, What It's Like. She said to me, death is a slow, seemingly inert predator, always just out of view, even when you know it's close, until it's too late. And then all that's left is the shock of after. It reminded me of an old Sufi story of a dervish on a boat in a storm, sleeping as the passengers panic. Finally, the storm passes, the boat arrives at a harbor. He steps on shore and someone says to him how remarkable it was that he remained calm when there was only a plank between them and death. He replies, yes, but now even the plank is gone. And here's the footnote. When Baba Ram Das said, be here now, not even he knew how difficult it was to be or what here meant, and certainly not the joy and terror of now. Those three little words are a lifetime of work in sidestepping everything he was taught to value: status, race, religion, responsibility, obligation, and yes, desire. Most of all, the duality of a comfortable past and a promising future. Available at Amazon from Calumet Press. I'm just really happy to have a chance to be here with you and to share a few poems. So
Thanks a lot, Loren. They were excellent.
thank you.
Thanks to all the readers. Thanks to Valerie Lockhart and Minneapolis Television Network. Thanks to all you tuning in. I'm going to leave you with a poem by Anne Spencer. Dunbar. Ah, how poets sing and die. Make one song and heaven takes it. Have one heart and beauty breaks it. Chatterton, Shelley, Keats, and I. Ah, how poets sing and die. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, Ron. This was great fun.
Yeah, I thought
Everyone
so.
was beautiful. It was wonderful to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
joining us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good
Goodbye.
night.
Good night.
Good night.